Welcome to another Locker Room Report with the hockey coach, Frenchy, directly for the beautiful country of Thailand, the land of the smile. And tonight, they are back in the house as the co-host directly from Toronto, Mr. Enortap, and from Hawkesbury, Mr. Marko Larabi.
How's it going, Coach? Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Welcome
Coach.
to the locker
Marko,
room.
how are you?
Very good, guys.
Welcome in the house on the great special Thursday night because usually we do the Wednesday night, but because the Montreal played yesterday, we're going to talk about the game between the Montreal and the Ottawa Senators. We're going to do a locker room report on the great, thankfully, Thursday night, September 28, 2023. A lot of things to talk about. Of course, a couple of news. Now it's starting to have the NHL waiver. We're going to talk about the player on the waiver. Big news coming from the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not a hurricane, but it's a kind of storm. I think they're going to suffer for about 3 months for definitely about that. Loss as a goaltender. We always talking that way. If ever they lose the goaltender, maybe it could be a big problem for the Tampa. So we're going to talk about this, of course. The Montreal Canadiens, we have a lot on the subject, and let's see what we got for you guys tonight. First of all, Gary Cournoyer. No. It's Ivan Cournoyer. I apologize. I missed his first name. The Roadrunner, 12 days before the season starts. And then tonight, we're going to talk about Martin Saint-Louis hockey, his checker, his chess. Marko Larabi is going to give us a little bit more information about why Martin Saint-Louis talk about checker and chess. And Artab mentioned this last week. If you follow my Daily News, it was about Martin Saint-Louis, about Slafkovsky. Praise Slafkovsky, and the reason behind that. So what I did on that video, I took all the great resume of Martin Saint-Louis press conference. I make a video about this. Finally, I make another video, the recap of the game highlights between the Montreal Canadiens and Ottawa Senators. I'm not going to do this all year long. It's just right now is the preseason. And I want to be sure you a little bit know about different players and what happening. So it was a quick video I did on that one. So that's what we produced in the last 24 hours. And we got yesterday. Today, before that, it was Ross Cohen. It was with us talking about the NHL Prospect 2024. And we got now Marco D'Amigo from, I believe it's always mess up. Is it Montreal Hockey Now or Hockey Montreal Now? Something like that.
Yeah,
and,
Montreal Hockey.
Okay, so he's going to be with us for that for next Wednesday. If you have any question for Marco, you can come live and ask question, or you can send us an email on the mailbag. This email is for our mailbag, the mailbag, and don't forget to put on the description the person you want to ask that question. That's simple. It's hnlswarmup@gmail.com. We copy the question, we cut it, and we drop in the show, so we recognize you on that one. So thanks to be with us tonight. We have a few people knock the door, so welcome everybody. Thanks to be very quickly, guys. Going to welcome everybody. First of all, we have all the way Leon Renault is in the house tonight. Welcome back. Jake McEnway, change again his emoji. Welcome back, Mr. Jake. Thanks for being with us on the great special Thursday night. Larry Lavalley from upstate New York is in the house. Frankie Leonidas, il est de retour avec nous. He's back with us tonight. Glad to have you aboard. Atlantic Shot from British Columbia, Mr. Luke, back in the house tonight. Thanks to be with Hockey Nation. And then we have Luciano Graziano, moderator of the Hockey Nation. Great asset of the team. Work behind the scenes. He's not in the front like Enortap and Marko, but guys, Luciano bring a lot of great contents for me, helping me a lot about logo, everything, great ideas, and a lot of things we should always recognize what Luciano bring on the table. We have Steve G from Colorado is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Steve. Big fan of the Colorado Avalanche. Always really knowledgeable about hockey, by the way. We have to go Newfoundland, RDP. Buffalo Sabres is in the house. It looks like David Levi is ready for the upcoming season. Your neighbor, Mr. Marko, Mr. Claude Richard, he is in the house tonight from Ottawa, a neighbor, but he still have some attached over there, I'm pretty sure. Of course, Roy from my neighbor now for Bangkok is in the house. Ça va très bien, mon Roy, rock and roll. Mr. Jeff He's back in the house tonight. Welcome in the house. Long time we don't see you. From Manitoba, Winnipeg, Mr. Dan Asham and Colette Asham are in the house. Welcome back. Ajay Calabro with all the news update about the score. 6 game on the program right now. Guys, and the Detroit Lions play against the Granby Bay Packers. Lions winning, the Lions winning right now. And the Pittsburgh over 2-1 over the Sabres. So you can see all the information about that. We'll talk about them a little bit later. And then we have anybody else in the house. Exchange, should be sure we don't forget our friend Gary, the Retour avec nous as well. Welcome back, Gary. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. And also New Zealand, by the way, Jeff is from New Zealand. Thanks to be with us. We have people all around the world. Rich back in the house. Rich at number 22. Thanks to be with us. What about from Cambridge, Ontario, Mr. Enortap? Maybe close to you. Who knows? Darrell is with us tonight. Thanks to be with us. Our friend Nick, he's in the house tonight. Chicago Bear fans. He said, look, boo the Packers because I'm a big fan of the Bear. Well, they are not too bad, Bear, this year, but still have to get a little bit better.
Oh, they're
quite looking good.
They're that bad.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
You know.
They're bad. They're bad, coach.
Can he be worse at the worst?
Well, they're 0-2 for starters.
Yeah, but, you know, we miss, Jake McMahon. McMahon? Oh, he was the quarterback over there?
Jim McMahon.
Yeah, something like that. I confuse him with the WWE, but, you know what I mean? That's not sorry about that. The Sharks knocked the door, ladies and gentlemen, from, of course, the Nashville Dynasty, the country wall, and talk about the odd awards over there. That's awesome to hear that. Blake Shelton, Lane Wilson, Johnny Cash, and Dolly Porton. We'll see what happened about that one over there. Coach, what a trio. Marko, the center, Enortap on the wing. It's, Marko is Kirby Doc, and Enortap is Sean Monahan, and I'm RHP.
Oh, my back.
I'll take that.
Enortap is faster backwards, but at the end of the day, we need someone back checking quicker. So wait for me to show me and Kirby and Marko, we can attack the fourth checker. But we can talk about this a bit later. About that, John Mickelson, Mr. Enortap, il est retour avec nous. John was a big asset of the show, Mr. Enortap. Remember about the warm-up show? Yeah. John Mickelson. Relate with Phil Mickelson, but I don't know exactly how this works. Maybe another time we can talk about this. So that's what we got. The first thing we do here, for each one of you, you click on the likes, that's open the door. Then we serve you some beer. You can talk with the server. We have a new SAPs coming right now. We negotiate, we hire people, and one going to be more people, going to hire more people. So we have wings, cheese, popcorn, and beer on the fridge right now for you guys. But the key is to click on the likes. First thing we'll do, Mr. Enortap and Marko, what we do at the beginning?
Headlines.
You're absolutely right. Here we go. Un morceau de robot, on dirait dans le French a long time ago. The headlines, we'll start with Mr. Marko. Marko said his headlines of the night, guys. Habs fans are traumatized by Slafkovsky, Kokanemi, and Alex Galchenyuk. Tout pretty good, Mr. Marko. I figured out this to find something good for you.
Very, very nice. Well put together. My headline is, Habs fans are traumatized. And, I think it was important to talk about just because I see online every day, people, they kind of compare Slafkovsky to Kotkaniemi and Galchenyuk. We're happy to see Slafkovsky have a good game yesterday, but it's been a pretty rough ride for him on social media since last year, but especially I find this summer and throughout the training camp here. So what I wanted to talk about is just remind people, that it's a totally different management team. You can't have a generalized statement saying the Montreal Canadiens are not good at developing players. And that Slafkovsky is just the next guy that they're going to not develop properly. You can have as much criticism as you want about how they developed or why they selected Galchenyuk and Kotkaniemi where they did. Kotkaniemi is even, even more tragic, I guess, because it's more recent, and we see, Brady Tkachuk playing, down the 417 right from where Montreal is. But I just wanted to remind people that you have to have a little bit of faith here in the new management and development team that Montreal has put together. In the end, we have to give them a little bit of room here to work with Slafkovsky and develop a plan to, to kind of make sure that he develops the right way. And I can understand, right? Like these are past failures that are still haunting us. They're still impacting, where we are as a team. Kotkaniemi was a 3rd-round pick. It still hurts to see that. But I wanted to just remind people that you can't categorize what's happening with Slafkovsky right now in the same category as what's happened to Galchenyuk and Kotkaniemi. It's totally different people. Like, for example, when sometimes you see a statistic like, Toronto has, over the last 10 seasons, Toronto tends to play better in the second period against Montreal. Okay, that might be a good statistic, but it's totally different players that are playing this year than there were 10 years ago. You can't really compare our team, or a good stat that you hear sometimes in the playoffs, like, San Jose hasn't beaten Anaheim in the playoffs in the last 4 times, so therefore San Jose has an advantage somehow. Well, it's not true. Totally different management team, totally different coaches, totally different players. It has nothing to do with the history of what's happened. So I just want to give that context and just remind people that, let's focus on what's happening with Slafkovsky. There's no need to bring Kotkaniemi and Galchenyuk into the conversation. It's a totally different thing. Let's try to move on from it and give Slafkovsky at least, a chance to be. So I just want to put there, this is something that I see a lot, and it's just really hard to kind of see fans not have that foresight and to think about it that way.
Well done, Mr. Marko. We're going to go to the next one. Mr. Enortap is going to get that one. He said patience is please. Request for Enortap.
Please, indeed. First, I got to say, Coach, I'm honored that Martin St. Louis actually listened to Hockey Nation last week, and he used last week's headliner that I had about checkers and chess and comparing it to some of the players this year. So that was kind of neat to see. But here, I just wanted to make a few comments about the whole process of being patient. And, whether you're part of the fan base, whether you're part of the media, whether you're just, a random admirer of hockey or of Montreal, and specifically in this case, you got to realize that things do not happen just overnight. It's a process. And what Montreal has done is they pretty much cleared house from a couple years ago, and they've put the proper management in place. They've put in many more scouts involved in the process, helping with the development, helping with the selections. They've put in more people with PR involved in that. They're trying to be as open as possible with everybody involved, and try to keep them linked with what's happening. Now, yesterday we're listening to you, Coach, doing the hockey game, and first it was a tale of 3 periods, right? Like the first period, all of a sudden, all the comments keep coming in on how Montreal's going to make the playoffs and how great they're going to be, and look at these guys playing tonight. Second period, we were ready to throw them in the garbage again, and here comes another top 5 pick, and then the third period, they turned it around again. And that's, even though it's just an exhibition game, I mean, we can't put a lot of stock into what we're seeing, because this is part of the development process. So I guess what I'm saying is we have to have very much, as a fan base, tapered expectations. There's nothing wrong with getting excited about your team, of course, but we always need to remain realistic to where we are in that developmental process. We have to be patient with right now a very young defensive core. It takes time for them to work together and to play proper defense. We have to be patient and faithful to the whole rebuild process. We have to be patient with guys like Slafkovsky and not be ready to lynch them like Marko was alluding to. We have to be patient with the systems that they eventually are coming into play, and by that I'm talking about power play, penalty kill, 4-on-4, etc. We have to be patient. Like I said, that the development itself takes time, and we have to be patient because chemistry on a team, which is an absolute must to have, doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time. These players, they get to know each other, and they get to know each other's families, and they really stick up for each other. And we kind of saw that last night. Anytime some cheap shots were taken at Montreal, somebody was ready to step in, and that's just the genesis of building that chemistry. So all I say is, I think the future is good for Montreal, very good, but we just have to be patient.
Well done, Mr. Enortap, and well done, Marko. Coach, you have one, yes. And I usually wait for them to give me their headlines so I can readjust mine. And today, guys, is a easy. Habs still rebuilding. At the end of the day, I just complete what they just said, both of them. We're still rebuilding. And exactly what happened last night. Great period, first period. We go down after that. The goaltender are shaky. But they are a fun game to see last night. I said on my recap game today, it was power play, hit, fight, come back. Your fans love Slafkovsky, he scored. You guys love Caulfield, he scored. It was just missing Jacky to go over Mac and win. But at the end of the day, that's what we are. We are rebuilding. We take every ingredient of the recipes to get there. It would take 3 years. During that time, we have to enjoy. We have to follow the ride with them and to be just enthusiastic and not be negative, but to be sure you understand it will take time. And we see players make mistakes. If you go about Monday, Mayu was fun to watch. And I like his tenacity to not worry about mistake. He run after everyone like a chicken on the ice after Jack Hughes, and he got beat. You know what he did? He come back. He did an amazing, great pass. He have great shot in net. So he forget. I love his composure. I love his behavior. But not only him, and many of them have to learn, and it's called progress. It's called rebuilding, and that's who we are. So at the end of the day, I just want to complete for what they said. Both of you guys, you did a very great headlines. I'm not going to take the 9 minutes of Mr. Enortap to talking about my headline, but at the end of the day, I think we got the point behind that. Marko, you agree with me?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the reason that St. Louis picked up on Enortap's headline last time is because he did the whole show on it.
Yeah.
Hey, I took my two minutes of delay a game. I was fine.
That'd be awesome about that. We have a lot of things to talk about tonight. Yes, we're on the locker room. Yes, we're going to change left and right conversation about everything. But let's start talking about the big news, guys, is the NHL first. When we have something big, we have to talk about because this have an impact on the Atlantic Division and on the rest of the league, if you think about that. So what we heard today is the NHL goaltender Andrei Vasilevskiy is going to be out after a surgery. I think is it lower back?
Yeah, I think it was
part of the disc.
Yeah, lower back.
Yeah.
So 8 to 10 weeks. So we talk about October, November, possible middle of December. And the only goalie they have right now is Zamboni Driver and Jonas Johansson. That's all. Nothing else. They don't have anything. Maybe Tyron Pupa will come back. We don't know yet if Pupa can do that. But would be interesting to see that. And I don't know what you think about the impact of that injury. Let's start it with Mr. Enortap. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, Coach. I mean, the one thing Vancouver, Tampa Bay could ill afford to do was to lose Vasilevskiy for an extended period of time. Now, it's going to be a little bit dicey here. I mean, I was trying to go through some names today of who they might try to go after here. I mean, the obvious choice might be to maybe bring back Elliott. That could be a possibility for them. I wouldn't discount somebody like maybe Halak, although he didn't have a great year last year. You know what? They might even kick tires around and see if either Montebo or Caden Primo might be available. That's in the Well, they're not going to go for Allen because I think they have to look at sort of the contract that he brings with him. I mean, Montebo is very inexpensive at this point. I think he's just under $1 million or just right at $1 million. So
I just put Enortap. I don't want to stop you, but just below, I just put a couple of goaltender you have around the league because you talk about this. It was my next thing. So great point. You can consider what you said, but who they are, I believe they are right now.
And the other ones I was thinking of, like from the Panthers, they have Stolarts as well. So that's a possibility since they're back up there. I forgot his name now.
Knight.
Florida. Knight. He's back. So, and who knows? Maybe even the Leafs, like with Jones, could be a possibility. So there are some areas for them to reach out, and they know it's only temporary in terms of somebody has some experience can come in and hold the fort for a couple months. And by the same token, when Vazzy comes back, they make a very solid backup goalie. The other ones that we're talking about. So I see you brought up a couple of other very good and solid names as well. I don't think they're going to go with necessarily a young, unproven player. That's why I kind of, even though I mentioned Monty and Caden Primo, I don't think they'll go that direction, but we'll see. But it's a big blow.
Yeah. Mr. Marko, anything you want to add about this one?
Yeah, listen, like, you're right. Like you had to almost kind of guess that something at some point was going to catch up with Vasilevskiy. He's just played so many games, and it's not like former eras where goalies can play 60 plus games, a year and just do that year after year. Like we've talked about it over the last couple months and even the last year about how the position of goaltending has changed so much and how much more taxing it is on the goaltenders and everything else. But to me, what I look at here is, they have very limited options because of the salary cap. Obviously, they know that Vasilevskiy is going to come back. They can't really add somebody with much of a number. But to me, I think the thing that's most interesting is who does this benefit, right? Like a lot of people maybe had Ottawa as a bubble playoff team. So to me, if I'm the Ottawa Senators, I know the focus has really been on having a much, much better start to this season than we've seen over the last couple of seasons. So to me, as an organization, you look at this news and it just doubles the focus of, guys, if we get off to a strong start here and we're in the mix, then, we have a little bit more of an opening than we did 24 hours ago before this news, right? So to me, the team that has the most to benefit from is either Buffalo or Ottawa, because it's kind of gives a bit of an opening in that Atlantic division.
Totally. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, great point about that. I was just said for me, I think the best candidate would be like Brent Elliott. Elliott, we've been there for the last 2 seasons, play with the team, know who they are. And whatsoever you think, the problem with that is, remember, they don't have no money. And this is the problem they have. Whatsoever they say, they can put 9.5 on the, like he's coming back at some point. And when he's coming back, you have that goaltender. If he carry on $3 million, now you have to waive him. If you waive him, you still have to pay at some point if he's going to be on the, if nobody pick him up. So it's a really delicate situation for them. Me behind that is, guys, lower back, it's hard. It's a difficult part of your body as a goaltender to recovery and say, okay, after 8 weeks, boom, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm not saying it won't be, but it's a situation. Think about Joel Edmondson example. Every year have a problem with the lower back. He struggled after that. And many players have a very lower back problem. It's a part where the body suffer more quicker. And this will be really interesting. What's going to be his recovery and how many, So if he can be only January, and then after that, Marko and Enortap, can he come back exactly where he was? The 90% between the pipe and 29.
That's my next point, right? Is okay. So assuming that he comes back on the timeline that they're guessing, like let's say it's 2 months, there's no way that he jumps in and has the same workload that he had before, at least not for the first while. So you're going to need somebody to really come in and carry the mail if you're Tampa. So I don't see, maybe really the only one on this list that I can see that could potentially do that would be Vladar, because he's been at least like a 1B before, arguably. So you could see him coming in and carrying the mail for and play maybe 40 games for a team that is going to be close to making the playoffs. But I don't see anybody, like I don't see Elliott coming in and being able to consistently give you good hockey. Spencer Martin is a pretty unproven guy. Halak, I don't think he's, and especially now at his age, he's never really proven that he can carry the mail for that many games at once, but especially at this age. I guess maybe the other one is Comrie, maybe, like he's had flashes and he's still pretty young, but that's a really tough position for them.
For that, I would say to you, Vladar is really the one I would expect for them. That'd be a great $2.2 million. They can request to the Flame to keep 50%. They can send them. Julien Brisebois said he don't really care about picks anyway, so send him a pick. That'd be fine. Greg and Roy, and then we want your goaltender. He can under 1.2. It would be fine to get him, and after that, they can keep Vladar, and then he can waive Johansson at some point at 700. So we appreciate that. And then people pop up, guys. We appreciate everybody. Thanks to join us. Don't forget to click on the like. We're going to move on with other subject we have on tonight. During the time I'm doing this, guys, I will ask. We have a question from Carlo Casella. He asked you guys, Montreal will make the playoff in 2-3 years. Enortap, you answer about that one.
Well, I definitely think that's more plausible, right? Within that time period, they could definitely be in the hunt, if not directly in the playoffs. And like I said, we just have to be a little bit patient. And if we're doing it right, it's something that will be sustainable for many, many years to come.
Well said about that one over there. We're going to talk about Save Ladar. No for him. Franco Coach give you 2 likes every episode. I appreciate a lot about that one. Mark D699 is in the house tonight. We appreciate a lot, everybody. King said, what do you think of the lesson goalie Berube, Mr. Marko? I watched the game last night, and his positioning was sound and make a sound pretty big save, including a penalty shot. What do you think about I believe it's Jean-François Berube. Pretty many years with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So what do you feel about that? We know Lawson King have Copley and the veteran Cam Talbot.
Yeah, listen, you look at the LA Kings and they have a pretty solid team, and a lot of teams are, a lot of people are predicting them to be in the playoffs, and I would too. But really what's preventing them from being to me, be a contending team, be in that mix of teams that we could call a contender, is their goaltending, right? So Berube, listen, he's a good depth, goaltender in your system, but I don't see him being an NHL goaltender, to be honest, not at that level. If I'm the LA Kings, maybe at the deadline, I'm looking to do something about my goaltending, Hellebuck, or something like that, depending what happens with Winnipeg. But LA, that's really the one sore spot there, is the goaltending for sure.
Yeah. People talk about the fact they maybe get a young goaltender to like Askarov or Wallstead or something like that. The problem with that, guys, is the money. They carry on Vasilevskiy for more years now. I think he's still 3-4 more years on $9.5 million. And those goaltenders are going to give you a $4-5 million after the entry-level contract. So I think it will be a big problem for them. And you have to trade. The cost Askarov is maybe Sergachev. It's going to be high in return. They are not ready to do that. I don't think so. And Tampa Bay are not thinking rebuilding right now. Julien Brisebois, guys.
No.
If you know Julien Brisebois, it's winning. He don't care about anything. He trade McDonough. He trade Alex Killorn. He make player out of the building because he have only one thing. It's about winning. That's it. That's also.
He's the opposite of Marc Bergevin, right? No emotional
no
deals,
emotional.
like
It's about business. Is the word equal winning about that was well done about that one over there. We have other things, guys.
Yeah, their options are very narrow.
Yeah,
They're going to have to look for one of those goalies that we talked about that doesn't have a big pay tag. I still think maybe Jake Allen would be a very viable
too much money
option,
and
but
not that.
Montreal would. Yeah, but Montreal would have to probably retain at least half of that. That's my only take
I
back
think
from
we
that.
have one more retention left, right? And the
Yes.
Jeff Petrie
Yeah.
one, Petrie is 2 years, right? So I don't know if Hughes wants to have two of those three retention spots being on multiple years. Like I think that was really hard for him to do the Petrie one because he doesn't like having multi-year,
Yeah,
kind of
agreed.
retention.
Yep.
But
People talk about
It all depends what
Montembeault.
your return is.
People talk
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Montembeault. Frankie talk about this. Right? Are you willing to trade
Yeah.
Montembeault?
No.
If the price is right, why not? Are you expecting to make the playoffs this year or next year?
No, but like we had this discussion last year. You know, you need at least decent goaltending if you want your young players here to develop in an environment that's somewhat winning, right? Like we've already had these 2 years, and I know we're not going to make the playoffs this year, but nothing is more deflating than having goaltending where terrible goals are going in. It's just really hard to have a good environment when you have really bad goaltending. So for me, again, depending what the price is, right? If you're going to be offering a really high end prospect or like a first round pick plus or something, maybe, but like to me, Montembeault, I'm not saying he's like, the permanent solution. Like he still has a lot to show if he's going to be capable of being, a number one goaltender in the National Hockey League. But at this stage, just because of how the Canadiens are built, I think it's just better to have a little bit more stability back there to allow the players to play in an environment, anyways, where the goaltending is not going to be so bad that it's going to be just detrimental to being in a winning environment.
Well done about that.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
Go ahead. You want something else?
I was just going to say I agree, but if you did move Montembeault for a good return, you finally give that opportunity to Caden Primo to see if he's up to par in handling it. And I think that goes a long way in terms of making decisions about him for the future.
What is a good return for you?
For Montembeault?
Well, if they offer me a first, I'll do it right now. I'll sign right
now. No. He's going to be maybe a fourth and maybe three third round pick.
No, but the way you have to look at it, Coach, right now, Tampa Bay is in a very delicate situation.
Not at all.
Like
if Canada turn around, they go see Brian Elliott. So they don't have to push anything. They have no goalie, guys, and NHL. And the last 7 years have a trade first round pick. Or the fact, Marc-Andre Fleury a trade. That's it. That's all. All the rest is third round pick. Maybe one I think was Vladar, second round pick. That's it. That's all. All the market of the goalies guy is low on the return. There's been that way over there since 5 years at least.
And it's so weird. I find that so puzzling, Coach. Like, we've talked about this, and to me right now, there's such a strange market for goaltending, right? Like, we've talked about this. Like, pretty much every organization needs at least 3 NHL caliber goalies because of the amount of games that they're playing, the wear and tear on them, and everything else, right? Like, so to me, I totally agree with you. Like the market value for goaltending seems to have decreased a lot, say from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why. I don't understand it because they're such a valuable commodity because there's scarcity. Nick Foligno just scored for Chicago. I'm watching the Bedard on the corner of my eye, by the way. So it's such a scarce commodity. We're not seeing the same kind of influx and development of goaltending. So I agree. It's weird to me though that the market for goaltending, I think the Price and Bobrovsky deals probably scare teams. Like you talked about this, Coach, before, where the era of like $9-10 million deals for goaltenders is probably over. Like that's why Hellebuck and his agent are probably in for a bit of a surprise if they think that they're going to get that kind of money. He might get it somewhere, but it's not going to be for the length that he thinks he's going to get. But do you find it strange? Like usually in economics,
It is.
in anything else, when there's scarcity of a resource, that's when the prices go up.
And the demand is there, but it's part of the fact that I think a lot of teams have bought into the fact that they don't necessarily need that elite goalie for them to go far in the playoffs or win the cup, and they figure, instead of paying a goalie, $9-10 million like Price, you're better off having a solid 1-2 punch coming in collectively at around $7-8 million.
Yeah, I agree, but to do the 1-2 punch, it means that every team is going to need that 1-2 punch, which again puts a strain on the overall market, because before, let's say at least half the teams had a number one goalie that was playing 60, 60s, high 60s kind of games, right?
Yeah.
But now if every team is moving to that model where they're going to be splitting the workload, and then the third goalie often will have to play at least 20, 30 games because they're getting injured all the time, then that puts a strain on that market. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think over time, if I had to guess, that the marketplace for goaltenders, if we don't see a higher infusion of goaltending talent, or if they change the rules in the NHL for the roster rules and how you carry goalies on your roster, if all those things don't change, I just don't see how the price is going to stay that low.
Perfect. We're going to move on because honestly, we tried to stay on the Montreal Canadiens. We extend a little bit more minute about the goaltending situation. Great comments for both of you. Last game, the Montreal Canadiens won 4-3 against the Ottawa Senators. I would like to hear from you your comments about that game. A little bit a recap and maybe who stood out. Then I'm going to about specific players. What happening for the last couple of days with the Montreal Canadiens at the main camp. So let's start with Marko about this game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators, a score of 4-3. Mr. Marko, let's do it.
All right, so let's break this down. We'll start with negative Marko, and then we'll end with positive Marko. So just so that way I can end on a positive note. So negative Marko looks at this and thinks, this was Ottawa's C roster. And even though they had a really strong first period, I don't love, and again, like it's exhibition. So we're not really that concerned, with wins and everything else. But overall, in terms of team play, I felt that the second period was something that was a bit concerning, like just really not a great ability to get out of the zone. Like they were stuck and being forechecked really heavily by Ottawa. And again, this is Ottawa's C roster. I was really surprised to see how quickly Ottawa was able to break out from Montreal. Like I felt like even on the power play, the amount of like odd man rushes that I saw on Ottawa with the rosters that they had, like, were you guys surprised at the amount of odd man rushes that were coming through? It was crazy. So even though overall it was a win and there were some nice performances, I think overall, like, there's still a lot of room for improvement in terms of the team play and everything else. I know they're just starting to practice special teams, but a lot of penalties, so a lot of good practice for the specialty teams. So that's kind of on the negative side. It was a win, which is good. It's the first win that Montreal's had in the preseason since 2019, which is crazy.
3 years.
Yeah, it's insane. Like before COVID, right? So on the positive side, lots of great things that we can look at though at this game. I think we've already talked about Slafkovsky. That was, I think he really built on the second and third period from his first game. And, I think it's very clear that as soon as that first puck went in, like his first goal went in, we saw like a completely different player. You could just see on his body language how much stress relief there was after he scored that goal. And then we saw pretty much a completely different player, right? Like he had that really, really nice breakout where it's almost like a breakaway, and he had that nice scoop shot, headed to the top of the net. It was a nice save by, I believe Korpisalo was still in net at that point. So really, really nice game from Slav. Like really built off the last game. To me, the standouts, I at the beginning of the year, you guys remember that I had Monahan on the top line. So I was really happy to see them try that. I think to me, he's a really nice fit up there. Kirby Dach, you guys know that he's my favorite player right now, basically for Montreal. And he was like in total beast mode last night, right? Like really, really strong on the puck, winning battles, physical force out there. With Ottawa had like a really big, imposing roster, kind of a lot of bruisers on their C team last night. So Dach was like a really physically imposing presence. So I really like the combination of Dach with Slafkovsky and Pinard. It's like you can put Raphael Harvey-Pinard on any line. He's like what Gallagher was 5 years ago, right? Like he's the perfect infusion of energy for any line. Martin Saint-Louis said it, very well a couple of days ago. He's like, no matter where I put him in the lineup, I know exactly what I'm going to get, right? So really nice performance by him. And lastly, not somebody that we talk a lot about, and I don't suspect that he'll make the lineup, but what an amazing game by Gignac as well too, right? Like the amount of that line overall with Bourque and Davidson they were probably one of the best lines in the last red and white game, and that ruined this. They took a lot of good symmetry between those three guys. And Gignac, right? Like just really good puck pursuit, really good speed, decent face-offs, killed a lot of penalties. So to me, I could easily see him being maybe a call-up in the future if there's issues in the bottom six, like if Evans ever got hurt or something like that. Definitely somebody that I could see coming up, taking maybe a couple games for like a fourth line center kind of position. It's too bad though, because I really like Mishak's camp. I'm surprised that I find that Mishak has gotten such a raw deal because he had such a strong camp, but I'm just getting the sense that Habs management doesn't really believe in him, or they're not really giving him the same type of camp that some other players are getting. But overall, some really nice stories. Goalie, kind of had to come in at the last minute and sub for Matheson, who's having apparently like a lower body injury that's nothing too serious, hopefully, but Goalie had a bit of a struggle in his first game, so it was good to see him come in. I still think he has a little ways to go. Like you can tell there's a lot of rust there, and I feel like he's still not super stable, not as stable as we saw him before he got injured last year. But it was nice to see him get some more repetitions and hopefully get him ready for the season, because Goalie is going to be really important being in the top four there. So good experience, but lots to work on.
Well done. I like your comments about that recap. And after that, it will be, repeat or, it will be the same thing. I'm sure you're going to say. I'm going to bring you, and not on the hot seat, but I'm going to bring you on one specific player that you want to talk about. Is Slafkovsky, about his game tonight. Give us a little bit what you think about his performance yesterday against the Ottawa Senator.
Well, I thought that second line that he was on with Dach and RHP was probably the most consistent and most impressive. I thought that they created opportunities all evening long. I like the fact that Slafkovsky, if we look back, like last year, it took him 11 games to score his first goal of the season, and this year so far it's taken him less than 4 periods to finally get a goal. And you can just see his confidence is, even when he was interviewed at the end of the game, he seemed to have a different air about him. The one thing I want to start seeing him do a little bit more, given his size, and I know it's difficult when you first come out and you're that big. I mean, you have to grow into your body. I get that, but I would like to see him impose his physicality a little bit more, and really try to sort of deter other players from approaching him for fear of what he might return and give right back. Kind of like what Dach does. Anybody takes a run at Dach turns right around and just he lets them know that you're not going to get away with that garbage around me. And so if Slafkovsky can get it to that stage, I'm not saying he has to become a fighter or anything like that, but just sort of use your body. You're in the corners, use your body. And I think that will be amazing for him. But I thought it was probably one of his best games that he's played. And he was consistent. That's the other thing. He was consistent all evening long.
Well said about him about that. I will give you an example, guys, how we need to be patient. We have a great example in front of us. every night. And you played with him last night, number 77, Kirby Doc. 22 years old.
Doc.
So show up at 18 years old in NHL, right? Draft third overall pick. And he took him about 3-4 years to become who he is, right? He had to get out of Chicago, back with Montreal last year. We have a great year with Montreal, 58 game, 34 points, something similar. But look last night, his confidence. He ramped someone, I think it was Zukola, behind the net with a really big hit. On the goal of the Slafkovsky, I believe it was, he picked up a back checking with his stick, the blue line to turn over, and RHP pick up the puck to the wall, and that create that goal for the Montreal Canadiens. My point behind that is his confidence of Doc is another next level now. He grew up, he become more mature, and that's what we need to do with exactly what Slafkovsky. Martin Sou explained yesterday, his progression of the Slafkovsky is not going to be in line like this, right? He's going to be up and down. He's going to be but at the end of the day, he wants to be sure the dots are together at the end of the year, not at the same level at the end. He could be here, and then he can go all the way at some point. That's what he is. For Martin Saint-Louis, when he talk about Slafkovsky, he's looking for two things: the touch of the puck and what he does when you don't have no puck. And that's why he's going to grow his confidence with time about him. Game like last night, you said, Marko, yes, it's a low game, it's a low roster, but Slafkovsky show up and he proved it, and that will give him a little bit more confidence. But again, guys, you can watch him next game or this next two game, and he will maybe disappear. And then after that, next two game, it will pop up, and then boom, he get. This is what you expect for Slafkovsky for the upcoming season. But always remember what Greg Ramsey said, his coach in Slovakia, and many players play with him in Slovakia. I think one of them was Thomas Tatar. Remember, guys, he will play both time on the 4 line. When they bring him on the first line, and he bring with better player, he become better at the same time. And I think that will maybe help him, at least if he can play with a Kirby Doc versus Pesada and Jake Eben. I know, again, it's just like the level of talent is different. I think that will be me helping him at some point. If he can get a center like Kirby Doc for 10, 20, 30 games, who knows? And see what he can do with those kind of players or the top 6 with the Montreal Canadiens. Play 14 minutes yesterday. Like everybody is agree, was his best game on both ways of the game. Make a mistake at the third period. If you see his mistake when he got a penalty, but he have a chance to put the puck out. His option, he was to second lane. Option, lob the puck over the D, and that's it. That's all. Don't complicate anything. After that, he turn around, he put a stick and the skate of the player, tripping. Move your feet. It's just a little detail like that. But that's a learning process. So overall, it was a really great game for you, Slafkovsky. I don't know, Marko, in 30 seconds, you want to add something, or we can move on.
Yeah, just you're bang on, coach. Like, really, the last thing that tends to materialize for young players is consistency, right? Like, being consistent is the key to being a successful NHL player, and it's the hardest thing to do as an NHL player, right? Like, you have that's really what makes the difference between a decent NHL player and somebody who's going to be successful. To me, what's most encouraging is we've talked about this before, like, we only see the games and we see a little bit of practice, right? But there's a lot of data that we don't have access to, right? But sometimes you get little sneak peeks from what Martin Saint-Louis says, and some of the reports that we're hearing is that it's his attitude, right? And how coachable he is, I think is the right word for it. Apparently he's a sponge, right? Like, he's just really anxious to get better every day. And that's kind of what ultimately you're looking to do. That's really what makes a great player great, is their ability to work hard, practice longer, lots of repetitions. It's all about commitment. Raw, natural tools, those are important to have, but it really comes down to commitment level. And from all the reports we're getting, Slafkovsky is a very coachable guy and very eager to get better. And that's ultimately the winning combination. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well done about that one there for sure. I just tried to answer the chat. Welcome, everybody. Randy Walkman is in the house. Welcome, Randy. Don't forget, guys, to get on the like. If you don't mind, that'd be great. We're going to move on with a couple of subjects we have tonight, guys. We need a right winger. I don't know what's going on, but we need a right winger, and one of them is Cole Caulfield and of course, Nick Suzuki are looking for a new right winger. I would like to hear from you guys. What do you think? Which kind of player could be the great fit for the Montreal Canadiens? Yes, Sean Monahan was there, but he had to split Monahan with Kirby Dach. But who do you believe the Montreal Canadiens could add as a right winger, guys, for the upcoming season? I have a few names over there. We have Tanner Pearson, Josh Anderson, maybe John Anderson from the Whalers. What was the subject for the time? Kirby Dach, and of course Sean Monahan, or it could be another one. It could be New Hook or any other winger for the Montreal Canadiens. But what would be the kind of best fit for the Montreal Canadiens to get a right winger? And this time, let's start with Marko.
I think we're going to see a rotation, Coach. I based on what we saw last game, I think it's going to be hard for them to move away from Monahan. I think they're going to want to have that Suzuki line play against the other team's top line, right? So having the ability to have Monahan out there to take faceoffs, I think, is going to be really important for that line. But I think, really depends on whether Monahan is healthy too, right? Like how much they feel they want to put that much pressure on him, considering his health status over the last couple of years. So I still think we'll see a rotation, and I wouldn't be surprised if every single player you had on your list ends up playing up there at some point during the season, including the player that we just talked about, Slafkovsky. We talked about this before, if for whatever reason that top line isn't going, this is what we talked about wanting St. Louis to get better at this year is bench management, right? If you see that Slafkovsky is having the kind of game that he did last night, and you're down by a goal, that whoever has been playing with Slafkovsky or with Suzuki and Caulfield isn't going for whatever reason that game, throw Slafkovsky up there for the end of the third period and see what happens, giving him that exposure. Because on paper, Slafkovsky is the ideal player to be playing with Suzuki and Caulfield in the future. I don't think you want to put that pressure on him this season necessarily, unless he really earns it and ends up being there. But do you really think there's any other reason why they drafted Slafkovsky? They drafted him to play with those two players. Let's be honest. That's where, on paper, they saw him playing eventually, right? So at some point, I'm not saying it's going to be this year necessarily full time, but you got to give him some reps in selective times to give him that exposure if he earns it. I'm not saying you should just give it to him. So I think there'll be a rotation, but I would love to see Slafkovsky get some reps up there.
Well done about that. Mr. Enortap, you have any other suggestion?
Well, for me, I think it's appropriate that I'm right next door to the carousel here.
Yeah, but I think it's 1967. You work over there, right? You was one of the ticket holder at this.
I'm still at the top there.
Yeah.
The point being, I think Marko's right. I think we're going to see sort of a carousel of different players being there. I think the majority of times we'll probably see Monahan there because it makes the most sense at this stage. Who knows during, halfway during the year as players get traded and you're going to have to juggle lineups and whatnot. Personally, on that second line, the one with Dach and Slafkovsky right now that played yesterday, as much as RHP played very, very well there, I would love to see Anderson on that line as well, because you've got three imposing bodies then that can all three skate and really know how to create space for themselves. So that would be a very interesting line, which then opens up one guy that we haven't talked about and is maybe playing RHP on the first line. But the problem there is size, right? Like you're going to have three players in Caulfield and Suzuki and him that are not the biggest. And so it doesn't make as much sense as keeping Monahan there. If at some point Joshua Roy, should he ever make the team this year or come up later on in the year, that might be an interesting combination as well. But Marko's right. I think down the road, it's there for Slafkovsky to take.
Well done. Well said about this. Mr. Enortap, are you ready?
Yeah. Go ahead. We're going to rotate.
He's back in the house. Dixon. Automotive Group back in the house. Just complete his 96 donuts in the driveway at the Walmart. Mr. Enortap still doing this. We have a new GT Ford 440 for his donuts. Is back in the house. He can wait for his game tomorrow night, Toronto and Montreal, because, one of them is Montreal, his wife at Toronto, or vice versa. So will be really interesting about that for sure. We have a few people in the house. Mr. Enortap, GSM knocked the door. Frederic Ouellet is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. And you open the door, Mr. Enortap. Here, look like he see everything. Abination is in the house. Let's talk about Joshua Roy, if you don't mind, guys. Do you feel now Joshua Roy become the top forward prospect for the Montreal Canadiens? And some people ask, do you think he should play with Nick and Cole Caulfield maybe a couple of games before during the preseason? And what do you think so far of the performance of the Joshua Roy? So let's start with Mr. Enortap. We appreciate all the like we got so far. Mr. Enortap, you are on the...
Yeah, it's just to continue with what I was saying. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I like the way he's played so far. I know it's a small sample space size right now, but I think this guy has one direction to go, and that's up. I like his play. I do realize he has to work on his footing a little bit more, but he makes up for it in intelligence and IQ. And he's not afraid to go to the net, and I think he would definitely complement that line. That's why I even suggested that maybe at some point they try that out and see how it goes. But yeah, that's a very good pick for me.
Awesome, Marko. Before you talk about Joshua Roy, you're going to answer that one over there. What is Whiplash Armia with Vasilevskiy Caulfield?
Well, I saw that question. Listen, like I think they've tried that experiment before in the playoffs. Yep. Listen, he can do that job for like a couple games and he can be effective, right? Like if you look at the profile of player that you need on that line, Sandy, we said it, right? You want somebody that's going to be able to win battles down low, and maybe going from the net and stuff like that. Armia definitely has the potential to do that. He can really do nice plays once in a while, but I just think with him, it's the consistency, right? Like he's just unfortunately doesn't have the consistency to be to play those kinds of minutes over a long period of term. But in a pinch, you can put Armia up there for 4 or 5 games. He'll maybe have a spurt, but then over the long term, I think we've seen that Armia unfortunately just doesn't have the consistency to play in a top 6 in the NHL.
Well done. Nor the IQ. Nor the IQ, I think, Coach. I think Suzuki and Caulfield really play well off of each other, and that's fantastic. They know exactly where each one is, and that's why we were talking about duels a few nights ago. But whoever comes on the right wing to play with these two has to also have sort of that ability to read these two guys and know exactly where he needs to place himself in order to maximize a scoring opportunity. And that's why I think somebody like Monahan is extremely intelligent. I think Joshua Roy would be a good pick as well. Yeah. Anderson is, I mean, he's getting better, but he doesn't have that same flexibility as the other two, I don't think.
Yeah, we talked about Anderson, like he's that Motorola, smartphone that only has so much capacity for upgrades, right? Like I don't know if he has that capacity. Like Armia does have decent hockey IQ. Like you remember, like he played with Corey Perry and Eric Stahl and knew how to read those players. Like remember how dominant that line was down low in the playoffs in that 2021 Stanley Cup run, right? So Armia knows how to do give and go, like smart plays down low. Like I think he has the hockey IQ to do it. It's just the consistency. He's just not able to do it over the long term. And like I said, in a pinch, he can do it. But Joshua Roy, like, listen, like I think everybody's really eager to see what's going to happen there. Like he's kind of like found money, right? Like I'm afraid to say this, but I think like he might be everything that we wanted Jonathan Drouin to be, right? Like a good French Canadian guy who, has that kind of creative skill. He doesn't have the skating of Jonathan Drouin, but everything that we wish Drouin had, which was being able to win puck battles, be a little bit more determined, understand how to play like a 200-foot game. I think Joshua Roy, from I think everybody who that knows his history, he was drafted number 1 overall in the queue, and everybody had their eyes on him, and then he had kind of an attitude problem and wasn't really taking his training seriously. Then he got moved. I forget the original team he was drafted to, but then when he went to Sherbrooke, that's when everything turned around for him, and he decided that he was going to take his training seriously, and everything has changed for him since then, and it's been an upward trajectory since then. So listen, I'm really excited about Joshua Roy. I would love to see him get maybe a game here with some top 6 players. That would be cool to see him with Suzuki. We'll see how it plays out. Like, to me, him and Slafkovsky are the 2 leading candidates to be playing on that top line in the next 2-3 years for sure.
Yeah, it could be another Lekonen, in my opinion, if he can increase his speed. But talk about the smart IQ, vision, check all the box as a hockey player. Great release, can score. You have more offensive at Lekonen, in my opinion. They can have more speed at Roy. But at the end, they have some kind of player they can play on special team, power play, PK. It's just the speed will be maybe the only thing you can a little bit more worry about. But again, there's so many skaters in NHL. They were slow, or they're not thinking they have a really good speed, like Toffoli, Robitaille, and we can go all the way like that, right? So it would be really interesting to see his development with Laval Rocket for upcoming season. Hopefully, he can have those kind of opportunity for the next couple of games with the Montreal Canadiens to play with a little bit a better hockey player beside him. That was another one going to follow up for sure. We have a few people knock the door. We have Jimbo knock the door. Thanks to be with the Hockey Nation Live show. We're going to answer to your question, guys. Luciano have a good question, and don't go nowhere. We have a time to get there. We just open up the door, by the way. We just talk about Slafkovsky. That's a good one about that. We just talk about Joshua Roy. That's a good thing about that. This is a big game. The big news happening today, guys. The ad news remain. You have some kind of conversation in the chat about this. And we heard Montreal are thinking to maybe go on the private streaming their own game. And this is a new area. A couple of NBA or MLB does this. NFL does this. A long time ago, you see the college did those kind of streaming. The Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 2 teams I know from my knowledge about their streaming their own game. What do you think about this? How are you feeling about this? And this is the new way or the new avenue what's happening in NHL, and what would be the impact? So, Marko, let's talk about this.
Yeah, well, this is kind of in my area, right? So I work in telecommunications, so I understand a little bit how the media business works and all that, and how the revenue works, and it's a very complex question. Like, Coach, I think why this came up all of a sudden is I think Vegas, basically at this point, so Vegas, who is the Stanley Cup champions, they have almost nobody distributing televising their games, their local games this year. It's crazy, right? Like, I think
no, they have to go with great point. They have to go with scripts or script. Where nobody know about that. I only look about this yesterday or 2 days ago. It's very low.
Yeah. So it's really starting. And then last year there was a lot of, I think it was Bally Sports and a couple of their broadcasters. We've heard stories about TVA and TVA in particular having a lot of struggles. They laid off a lot of different media personalities. It's a tough business, right? Like, how to make money, with this kind of media. It's clear that the companies that bid for the big NHL rights, like, so namely Rogers and Videotron, are the ones that won last time. So for those of you who don't know, TVA is owned by Videotron and Sportsnet is owned by Rogers, right? So it's a lot of money, and they didn't see the return that they wanted when it came to the broadcast, right? So they're just not getting the same views. People are definitely cutting the wire and not subscribing to these services. And I think Michael, who came on last year a couple times, it's even worse in the US, right? Like the experience for someone to find games if you live in the US on ESPN is just terrible. It's really hard to find games. So the whole thing is a mess, and they really need to fix this. So I think you're going to see a lot of teams do this. I would be surprised, to be honest, if Montreal ends up going this way. And the reason for that is that Bell Media is a minority owner of the Montreal Canadiens, and Bell Media owns RDS. So if there's any media outlet that is going to have more insight, or maybe again, I want to be clear, I don't know anything inside information or anything like that. But to me, it makes sense that RDS would still have some games just because they're a minority shareholder of the team. That being said, overall, the concept of streaming games, I don't hate it, right? Like overall, like some of the prices I was hearing is it would be something like $80 or $1 per game in order to stream it. And it wouldn't just be the games, like they would actually have talk shows and stuff like that too, right? Because I think Coach and Enortap, I'm sure you watch a lot of this too. So a lot of it's in French, Enortap, so I'm not sure how much you understand, but the reason that it's great to have TVA and RDS is because they have all these other shows where they have great personalities. And for us hockey nerds, we have all this content to watch, right? But let's be honest, like it might not be good news for us who are in this on YouTube streaming, but these hockey personalities will just go somewhere else, right? They're not just going to disappear. So it would be a very seismic shift in how hockey is consumed in Canada. It's kind of tradition to have it televised, not just being streamed online. But listen, like you never know where things are going to go. I would be surprised if that happens in the short term, just because of the relationship that Bell Media has with RDS and the Canadiens.
Enortap?
I think Marko put it well. I mean, it's also a reflection of society today, and
Enortap is an expert for Radio AM translator. We have a new subscriber, Mr. Enortap, to listen to you, Frédéric Ouellet.
Welcome, Frederick. Yeah, and so I mean, this is the direction that a lot of the youth go to today. Like television has become almost obsolete in their eyes, and they like to see it on the go, on the run, and this opens up a whole can of worms here. The possibilities are really endless. It's something that I think that they may explore. I don't know where it'll go. I'll be honest with you. I just don't know enough of it to really conjecture on it right now. But it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. For me, this is what is going to happening in the next couple of years in the turnaround. That's not going to say, look about what happened with Big Ten and football, NCAA. This is really where you can learn more. They have their own channel. And like you said in Enortap, they create, or Marko, they create their own TV show. And then ESPN or any other CBS or NBC, they carry on also the NCAA game. One is a big game, everything like that. So they get double ways to get money. And the way they make money is the membership if you sign up to get the live streaming. So that's what's happening the next couple of years. And I think the team will be more in charge about what they're controlling. And remember, guys, for me, what I heard, the RDS TV Sport lose a ton of money, and they're not going to sign. I believe every time they play RDS a game, it's approximately $1 million for the channel. And they don't want to get that way.
What they've said is, like in the last deal that RDS signed, think of it this way, guys. Every time you see a Montreal Canadiens game on RDS, they're paying $1 million just to play it. So that means all the revenue that they need to take in that game, advertising revenue, all that, it has to be more than $1 million for one game. So again, I think all the companies that bid for that NHL TV contract last time, I think they've learned their lesson. It's really bad news for the salary cap because again, like these Canadian TV deals are critical for the salary cap staying up for the revenue of the team or of the NHL in general, right? So overall, they like I think coach early in the year you've talked about this, right? Like I think it's time for new leadership in the NHL. Like Bettman, there's a lot of things he's done well. You can criticize a lot of things, but I think they really need new leadership here to bring into the 21st century and think about how do you monetize this game, right? Like there's a lot of missed opportunities with how the NHL does things. Like the overall quality of the programming outside, like the All-Star game and the award shows, like my God, they're so cringy, they're so bad. Like there's so many missed opportunities that we could be
so many levels, that they can bring it at, and these blackouts just don't help grow the game at all.
Yeah, it's too complicated.
Well done. Well, so it's a subject we're going to talk more about the next couple of weeks for sure about this. By the way, guys, next week we're starting a prediction of the upcoming season. We're going to approximately 10 days to do that. So be ready, guys. At some point, we're going to do all the predictions for the upcoming season for sure. I'm not done, guys. We're still hanging there. Tonight, by the way, we have 6 questions, Frenchy Quiz. And we have a first question. It's a head-to-head. Some question is the head-to-head. Only 2 players. Bang, bang. And you're going to figure out about that one over there. So head-to-head on that one tonight. There's a new ways to make your question tonight. App news, Madison injury. Last year, at the same time, it was a low injury. It was not a big injury. It was just a couple of days. And those words came a lot last season. Couple of days. It's only a light injury. And the guy was gone for a couple of months, couple of weeks. What do you feel about that situation with Mike Madison? Are you worried? Could be a little bit now. It looked like he was not on the ice today, completely out of the ice. And how you feel about that? Do you feel like it could be a little bit more major, or because that will create another impact for the Montreal Canadiens? We know Madison have an amazing, great second half. So, any comments about this, Enortap?
It's difficult. You can't have somebody like Matheson out of the lineup. He brings that experience. He's your best defenseman right now. You can't have him out of the lineup. But for me, the bigger question is, as much as Montreal has been open and honest about everything, I think injuries has not been one of their fortes in forthcoming in terms of describing exactly what's wrong. And you sort of alluded to it when we saw Edmondson's injuries go from day to day to month, and so on. And he wasn't the only one, right? We had a few forwards in that regard, and the excuses were abundant, but the proper reasons were never really exposed until maybe the end of the year, when we found out, oh, well, yeah, Monahan had a broken foot, and that's the reason why he didn't play the rest of the year. So I think this is an area. I understand the gamemanship behind not exposing too much information for fear that other teams and players might take advantage of that particular injury. But by the same token, you can't sort of lead people on and lead them to believe that he'll be in the next game, when in reality that may not be the case.
Well done, Marko.
Yeah, guys, like this is, I guess, the first, peak that we get at kind of how this new medical staff for Montreal is going to manage things. Again, like there's certain things, like we're not expecting just because they trained some, change the trainers and everything, that magically they're not going to have injuries, right? But what we're really hoping for, and I said this, right, like this summer, I think firing the trainers, the ones that were there, I think it was kind of a scapegoat thing to do. I think the problem over the last several years is a lot deeper than just the trainers or the doctors that were there. It was an overall culture of letting players make selfish decisions, and sometimes dumb decisions, rather than, unfortunately, it's going to sound cold, but rather than treating them like a resource, or treating them like, a part of the team that they manage, right? Like it's your employer at the end of the day, right? So if you're Monahan or Gallagher or Price or Weber, and you're like a warrior and you play through like a broken foot and you ended up doing that to look like a tough guy for your teammates, but then you ended up being gone for the whole season, ended up hurting your team more than you did by just playing that extra game. Hopefully that whole culture has changed. And hopefully that's what we're going to see here with Matheson. Maybe, he wanted to play because it wasn't really that serious of an injury and everything else, but maybe that's what we're seeing here is finally them saying, no, listen, like we know that you want to play these games in preseason and practice, but listen, like we would rather be preventative with you and have you play, and heal up 100% before the rest of the season. So we'll see how that plays out. But you're right, Coach. We've heard this before, but I don't think we heard Martin Saint-Louis say specifically if this was a regular season game, Matheson would be playing. So in that way, it's encouraging, but it's impossible to know for sure. But interesting to see how it plays out. We'll see.
Well done. Enortap, want to add something, or is all good?
No, that's good.
All good? All right. Well, I have a question for you, so why not to go that way? Coach, is there one player or you guys think the Habs targets during the season?
Is there one player you guys think that the Habs will target?
Maybe to looking for make a trade or something like
that. I think they'll have their eyes open, obviously. I think that's something that Hughes does very well. He tries to look at the talent levels there that hasn't been perhaps obtained yet by a certain player and see if or somebody's ready to throw in the towel with that particular player and see if he can work something out. These reclamation projects, they're not just random. Obviously, it benefits us to have somebody like Hughes because he's been around many of these young players his whole career. And so he knows exactly what they're possibly capable of or what their ceiling could be. And he does a great job of seeking that out. And so far, knock on wood, we've made some very good trades to obtain guys like Doc and Newhook and so on, Matheson. And so, it'll definitely help us in the future.
Well done about that one there. Let's move on for my next thing, guys. From Renaud Lavoie, it would not be surprised to put Tanner Pearson on the waiver. What do you think about his comments about that?
Well, it might be a safe play, right? Like if you don't want to waive somebody like Yolonen or, I doubt that somebody would be able, with the cap right now, just pick up somebody like Pearson. And I'm assuming that Vancouver shopped him around to every NHL team before they made this deal for DeSmith with Montreal, right? So if you're looking for a short-term move to make in order to make things work so that they can put Price's contract on LITR or whatever, that might be the safest move, right? I'm pretty confident that he'll clear waivers. I don't think a team's going to pick him up unless they have like a really glaring hole that wasn't there like a week ago when Vancouver was trying to trade him. But listen, like it all depends kind of what happens. There could be injuries from now till then, but yeah, it wouldn't be a bad strategy, Coach. Do you imagine somebody picking up Pearson? He's I don't think a lot of teams are going to be able to kind of fit him under the cap right now. So
it's a lot of money. I don't think so, to be honest with you. I see that maybe as a play that they have in place, but I also don't believe that Pearson's here for the long run. I think that at some point he will be gone during the course of the year. So nothing that wouldn't surprise me if they did put him on waivers.
Yeah, I think it would be more like it's during the trade deadline, possible more could have some kind of move, everything like that. Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in the house. Before we move on with the NHL, guys, with the Montreal Canadiens news, one more. I just want to say, I forgot to mention about this earlier. NHL waiver today, the Vancouver put the goaltender Martin and the waiver. The Pittsburgh send Ty Smith.
Spencer.
and
Smith,
Rem Pitlick on the waiver today.
Yeah.
They are the biggest known. They have other players, but I just mentioned the biggest name of that one. Guys, Ron Extall trade for John Marino for
Ty Smith, yeah.
Ty
It's
Smith,
crazy.
Ty
right?
Smith. Yeah.
He make a Mike Madison for Jeff Petrie and Rand Pullen. Petrie is out, and Ty Smith will be out, and then now you have Rand Pullen now out. What a very bad GM he was with that part over there. But guys, I want to mention a specific
And
thing.
he
I want to
extended.
finish this one this week. I would like to hear from you in the chat, guys. What do you think? It's a name is starting to get a little bit more out by his performance. He did last game, by the way, but joined the main cam, and his name guy is Brendan Gignac. Not a big guy, 6 foot, I believe, 194, by the way. Play center, can play right winger. He's great. He's very fast, good skater. Involved 68% face off last game, I believe, was over 60. Can play on the defensive zone. Kind of player you're looking for, maybe a bottom 6. I don't know he's going to get. You have 2 great seasons, American Hockey League. And give me what you think about Gignac on that one, Mr. Enortap, first, sir.
Well, I think he's been a pleasant surprise. He's late yesterday. He centered both Davidson and Bork, and Davidson's another guy that I would put in this category as well. I thought they're 2 guys that I didn't have on the radar in terms of even sniffing a spot, but they're making a case for themselves. It's still not going to happen, I don't think, but they're very they're very energetic. They like I said, they're not afraid to use their size. You saw them both yesterday get involved when there was some rough play involved, and they weren't afraid. They didn't shy away from it. Gignac especially, I thought was very clean around the net. I thought he had good puck control most of the night. And even in that second period, when Montreal really played on their heels quite a bit, and we saw that change in score, I thought that these 2 guys, both Davidson and Gignac, were still playing hard.
Well done about
Coach,
that.
I think I mentioned this in my summary at the beginning of the show, right? I really like Mishak's camp, and he was kind of like my dark horse guy going into the camp, and I think he had a really good rookie camp, and I thought he was doing really well, and then all of a sudden, boom, Gignac, they start playing him, in these games, and he stood out. Like, he played, like, I think it was just in a way lucky for him that they had to kill so many penalties against Ottawa. It gave him a great opportunity to showcase what he can do. But like I said, like, to me, it's his speed, right? Like, really, really impressive speed, really impressive on puck pursuit and pressuring the puck, to me, are the biggest attributes that he has. And surprisingly good on faceoff. So to me, he's a really nice depth option as a potential call up this year for a 4th line center if Evans gets hurt or something like that. But in a way, again, like I said, I'm a little disappointed because I would have liked to seen Mishak get that opportunity, because I really like Mishak. He's combative, really competitive guy, and he also has a lot of good speed, and he's somebody that we drafted in the 2nd round. So I think it'll be interesting to see these guys in Laval for sure compete for top minutes with what should be an interesting Laval team to watch. But Gignac, watch out, man. Like, if you're Jake Evans, then you better kind of step your game up, man, because he had a pretty strong game killing all those penalties.
And Gignac has had 2 good years with Laval. Last year, he was, if I recall, he was almost a point per game. He was just under. And he came aboard late because of injuries as well.
Well done about this, guys. talking the chat, I tried to pick up a couple of comments over there, and then I'm going to ask this question to Luc, and then to Marco, and then I'm going to ask Enortap another question. This coming from Luc, and I think I didn't mention his name tonight yet, but I think we have to talk. The same way we talk about Gignac, possible Jared Davidson. Today, Martin Saint-Louis praised the young man. He talked about the fact, like 1 year ago, how he grow, how he develop, his progression is really, you can see it as during the game is a one way, he go all the time. And Martin Saint-Louis is really impressed by his performance in the beginning of the camp. What do you think about Jared Davidson, Marco?
He's been very impressive. Like, to be honest, like I didn't really see anything I could reproach in his game. The minutes that he's played, like really subtle things, like the details in his game are really good. Like, I think we all saw what he can do with his shot, but little subtle things, coach, that I noticed is his ability to receive passes. I know that's something that we don't talk about very much, but really good players know how to receive bad passes and still find a way to handle the puck and corral the puck, even if it wasn't a good pass. And little subtle things like that I really noticed about Davidson. Like, it's like all of his puck touches, even though there weren't a lot, he always seems to make something happen with the puck. And he's able to receive the puck in weird places and still control the puck and make a play. So really impressive. And, I think it's hard to argue that he doesn't have an NHL caliber shot at this point with kind of what we've seen. But in the last game, he didn't really have too many opportunities to shoot. But again, we saw him control the puck, receive some tough passes, make some really nice zone entries. And I think there was a really nice play there where he went down the left wing. And then it looks like he was going to kind of cut behind the net, but instead he passed it up front where Gignac was kind of driving the net. Just really smart. And he's not small, man. Like, he's a strong kid.
He's 6 foot.
Yeah, he's more mature than we would think, right? Like, he's 21 years old, right? So he's closer than we think, right? So watch out for that guy in Laval. And let's see I think it's nice just to get him a little bit of pro game here in Laval, but don't be surprised if he comes up and can be a meaningful contributor. I think he has enough details in his game that, like I said at the beginning of the training camp, coach, like, any player that wants to crack the lineup this year for Montreal or even make the team potentially, the key thing is watch who St. Louis is playing on specialty teams. Because as a role player, trying to break into the lineup, like, that's why Pizzetta in his interview today is talking about penalty kill. He knows the main way that he can stay on the roster is if he can do a decent job at penalty kill. You need to find a role in shies, like Martin St. Louis would say, in order to make the team, right? So a guy like Davidson, a guy like Gignac, a guy like Pizzetta, like, I think the rest of the camp, that's a really key thing to look at is who's St. Louis going to give opportunities for those special teams? Yolonen is another guy, Heineman. Who's going to be most effective at killing penalties, maybe playing second unit power play and play a role on the team? That's what St. Louis is probably going to be looking for.
Well done about this. And after I'm going to move on for the next one, so we're now going to get a question from King of Gamer. He said, what do you think about Cédric Guindon?
Well, I don't know. He hasn't really he hasn't played enough for me to really see an impact with the team so far. With Cedric, I would like to see more of him in order to really comment on him. But at this point, I can't really say yay or nay.
Yeah, he's going to be in the funnel like other players at some point. Another center play with HL for upcoming season. I think he played with Owen Sound, if I can recall it properly. But I cannot be sure about that. But anyhow, good offensive players, good skater, small players, small pack. He's going to fight to get a spot for sure. He's going to be on his final year, I believe, on UHL. And then we're going to see him with the Laval Rocket for upcoming. But again, We have to show more. It reminds me a little bit what happening last year with Jan Mizak at the Chem. Was not great, was not bad, but not good enough. And now he's going to hopefully that final year is going to get those kind of confidence and boosts him to be ready for next season with the Montreal Canadiens. We have Pete Winstock from Ontario. Mr. Pete is in the house from Facebook. Thanks to be with us. That'd be great. We're on the final stretch, guys. So we're going to get a couple of questions. If we get some of them, that'd be great. Let's go with that one, Mr. Marko. Did the Habs make a mistake in keeping DeSmith over Jake Allen?
I think maybe he means the opposite, like keeping Allen instead of DeSmith. Well, if you watched that Vancouver Edmonton game last night, DeSmith was smoking hot. He had a really, really good game. So, listen, like I think DeSmith is a proven NHL tender, solid back tender with the Twins, and if they like, listen, we all like Jake Allen in the dressing room. Like we like the presence he has. So I think that's kind of an intangible, factor of keeping Jake Allen there is like he's good for the team and good for the locker room. To me, like Jake Allen has had like a sub 900 save percentage over the last 2 years. If you look at DeSmith's numbers, he's probably like he hasn't played as many games as Jake Allen, so maybe under the same strain of playing that many games for what's been a pretty poor Habs team defensively, maybe DeSmith's numbers wouldn't be as good. But on paper, it's hard to argue that Allen is a much superior goaltender than DeSmith. So, I wouldn't have I wouldn't like rip off my shirt in anger if they would have traded Jake Allen instead of DeSmith. But I can understand why they made that move because Jake Allen seems to be a pretty central, important piece of that locker room. But on paper, from a goaltending perspective, I might not, people might shit on me in the comments, but I don't see a huge difference performance-wise between DeSmith and Jake Allen.
All right, sound good about this, Mr. Enortap. We have to move on. We have already 9:36. We stay on the race of the time tonight. And we know tomorrow Montreal is going to play again at the Toronto Maple Leafs at Friday, Saturday, and Monday. And we're going to be back Sunday night with a show called Weekly Recap. And then next Wednesday, we have Marko D'Amico is going to join us. Willie Snyder knocked the door, and he have a question. And then Pete said, I will move Allen instead of DeSmith. That's another question on the Facebook. But Willie Snyder, I have a question for you, Mr. Enortap. Do you see the Habs improving by 10 points this season from the tank contest from last season, Mr. Enortap?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's going to be hard. It's not an easy task because the teams are so strong this year in the East. It's going to be extremely difficult. But I mean, you can improve and yet still finish towards the bottom. And I think that because of there's that parity this year, as there has been the last couple of years, but I think there will be more so this year. You're going to see a lot of games split between teams along the way. So there is that possibility. And originally, I called for, about a 10-point improvement, which would have puts them around 78 to 80 points. And I still think that that's a reasonable goal for them to try to acquire.
Well done about Mr. Enortap. And Marko, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, like I think we're still good. They're still going to finish last in the Atlantic Division. That's really what it comes down to. So, I think they're
Second
easily. No, well, who do you see finishing behind Montreal? Tampa, just because they lost last game.
No, in the East. In the East or in the Atlantic? Sorry.
I was saying in the Atlantic, they'll for sure finish last in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
In the East, like. Listen, like I still think Columbus is going to finish ahead of Montreal. I think probably Philadelphia is going to finish behind Montreal, most likely. Other than that, though, I think that's like I don't really see that many teams finishing behind Montreal. So say Philly, and then then it's so. I think could they improve by 10 points? Yes. but I don't think so. It's still gonna be a pretty like tough. Maybe they'll improve by like 3-4 points, maybe 5 points, depending on health and everything else. But I think still, a bottom 10, like, so they finished 29th last year overall. So, maybe they're, maybe like 25th, something like that.
28, I believe it was last year. 68
28.
point last season. 66,
Yeah.
68, I think. For them.
68.
I expect about 6 to 8 point average for me for the upcoming season. I think they will be a little bit better, and you're going to have some still game. But at the end of the day, the problem is the other team in the Atlantic Division. What could happen with injuries, and see what could happen. So at last, okay, we hold on another pick for 2024. You're absolutely right about that. That's conclude, guys. All the subject we have. We send a raise on the subject tonight, guys. Great performance, both of you. Great performance for the people in the chat. But we cannot leave the building without the Frenchy Quiz tonight. And it's going to be a very interesting one. We know yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I think it was Gary Cornoyer won the only one yesterday on the Frenchy Quiz. Let's see what I can about this one there. There's already a question for you guys, but it's not at the beginning yet. Wait on that one over there. We're not finishing. The leaderboard, guys, is Enortap 22. Gary Cornoyer won 11 on that one yesterday. That was this. Don't forget, guys, click on the likes. And we're going to do the Frenchy Quiz really quickly. 6 questions tonight. On that one over there, we have for you guys. And it's different, a little bit different tonight. It's something I think you're going to like it. And some maybe who knows could happen about that. But we'll see what you're going to respond. Marko and then Enortap are doing great to give us some the reason they do that pick. Good luck, everybody.
Oh my God!
Here we go, guys. First question of the night. Head-to-head, which one had the most point between Keith Tkachuk and Luc Robitaille? Tkachuk, Robitaille, or they have the same number of point? Head-to-head.
All-time?
Head-to-head.
All-time?
Remember, head-to-head. It's not like during the career. Head-to-head.
Oh, okay.
All right?
Playing against each other.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens about this one over there. Good luck, everybody. Do I have the clock? The clock would be on the head. No, the clock is there. We're still going to try the clock over there, too. We're going to see if we have some people go and give us some answer. And good luck, everybody. Extort is back in the house. Don't forget, guys, to get on the likes. Mark, this is the worst case. RJ go with B with the Robitaille. Nicolas go with A. GSM go with Robitaille. The clock is down. We have only a couple of few answer. Andy with C. Randy with B. Robitaille with Nicolas. About that one, Mr. Marko Enortap.
Yeah, this is a tricky one because you're going to be thinking, okay, maybe Robitaille. He's had the more successful career, obviously, but I'm going to go with C. I got a sneaky suspicion this is the same head-to-head.
Raptor, back in the house. Raptor with B. Leon with A. Mark with B. Frankie with B. Willie with A. Luc with A. Mr. Enortap and Mr. Marko about that one. Gary Cornoyer go with B.
So I think Robitaille had a couple years on Tkachuk. Like, I don't think their careers overlapped as seamlessly as we think. Like, Robitaille would have been a bit older when he was playing against Tkachuk. But Robitaille was probably playing for those really good Detroit teams, and Tkachuk was playing with like Winnipeg and Phoenix and those kinds of teams. But I'll go with the young buck and say that Tkachuk would have been more in his prime when he played against Robitaille, so I'll go with A. Tkachuk.
Awesome. Ken go with B. Gary Cornoyer with B. Mark Elliott is just B friend. I'll go with C. And Austin Allen go with A. Thanks for all your answers tonight, guys. And answer number 1 of the night. The answer is C. Same number de points, 34 for that one over there. Mark Elliott, Andy Quivila, and Enortap, all the winner of the question number 1 between all of you guys. Question number 2 of the night of the 6th. We'll go over delivery. Tonight is a Thursday night, so why not do it? Here we go. Another head-to-head. Which one had the most goal between both of them? Again, the same player, Robitaille and Tkachuk. Is it Tkachuk, Robitaille, or same number of the goal? We have the same number of the point. Is it the same possible for the number of the goal? We'll see in the next 1 minute about that. Here we go. Trap, Mike said that. Yes, don't forget to click on the likes. We're getting there. We tried to get a 50 likes tonight on the Thursday, thankfully night, September 28. 1-1 Chicago is the Blues. And no goal for Connor Bedard so far. RJ go with A. Thanks so much, RJ. Bienvenue sur le wall. 4-2 again, Avalanche. Look with A, GSM with A, Andy with A. Everybody go with A on that one. Nobody want B. Mark D go with B. Randy go with A. Thanks so much, Randy. Be part of the show tonight. Let's get 3 more likes to get there. You have to write about this. But that we're going to start with Mr. Marko.
Before I go, I just want to say Luciano is a rock star, man. In the chat, just always pumping. So just good job, Luciano. Keep up the great stuff, man.
He does.
Yes. So listen, Coach, the odds of it being the exact same for overall points and goals, I don't like those odds. But in a way, maybe it is. Maybe that's why we're having these questions, because that statistic popped up and you're like, wow, that's crazy. They both had the same amount of goals and points. That's possible, but I'm going to go with, I think Tkachuk was more, again, in his prime, probably scoring a bit more. Robitaille probably had a lot of secondary assists with those really amazing Detroit teams. So I'm going to say A, Tkachuk.
A, Tkachuk. Here we go. Mr. Enortap.
You see, Marco, you're starting to learn. You're reading into Coach's head now. That's not an easy thing to do. You have to think, why is he coming up with this question?
Yeah. You saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Robitaille was more of a well-rounded player in terms of he set up a lot of plays as well. I'll go with Tkachuk. He's usually in the dirty areas right in front of the net. So I'll go with Tkachuk.
Here we go. Question number 2. Answer. Yes, it was. The dad did it, guys. Enortap, you're not the only one. Mark Elliott is at 2, but we got RJ, Frankie, Luc, Leon, Randy, Gary, and Marco Larabé are all the good answer of that one over there. I don't know, the clock is starting to work there, but that's what we got, guys. After 2, let's move on for question number 3 of the night. Head-to-head. Which one had the most points between Zibanejad, Pastrnak, and Zuccarello? Good luck, everybody. The first one was easy. I'll give you a compliment. Now he's going to need a bit more.
But now, hang on. I'm a bit confused. Head-to-head, obviously they're not playing each other.
The head-to-head between all the 3. Which one had the most points? Or between all the 3. So one they play, not one they play, but what they have the most point on them.
I don't think I understand it either.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
because they don't play.
Which one have the most point in NHL between Zibanejad, Pastrnak, and Zuccarello?
Okay, so not just when they're
different.
Yeah,
because there's
so
not.
I can remove the head-to-head if you want to complete that one over there.
It doesn't.
All right,
Yeah,
so I
that
can
makes
remove
more
that one
sense.
over there, right here. Which one have the most point between Zibanejad, Pastrnak, and Zuccarello? Here we go. We can go back with 1 more minute. No problem. You can change your answer if you want to, guys. About this, I got 2 also. AK, yes.
So for Franco, he's asking who Kachuk is exactly. So we were talking about Daddy Kachuk,
Keith.
like Keith Kachuk, the father of Matthew and Brady.
Yep. We got right now Nicolas with A, Leon with B on that one. Willie with C, Pasnak, Gary go with B, Randy go with B, JSM with B. A lot of B for Zuccarello, Mr. Enortap. We're going to go through for 15 seconds, by the way. So we're going to give a little bit more chance for everybody about that one over there. King go with B, Mark with A, Luke with B, Andy with A, Frankie with A. That's what we got. Zibanejad, Zuccarello, and Pasnak. Is on time, Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know Zuccarello has good years, but I don't think it's him. And I don't think Pasternak's been around as long as Zibanejad. So I'm going to go with A, Zibanejad.
Zibanejad. Marko, are you follow your partner?
Yeah, Zuccarello I think he's been around longer than both Pasternak and Zibanejad,
Yes.
but not that much longer. And I just, like, he's had some pretty productive years, but yeah, that's a tough one, man. Like, I guess just to be different from Enortap, like I think it's probably A, but I don't like answering the same. You'll notice if you go back, I never choose the same thing as Enortap. I just think it's weak.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm gonna go. I'll go with B, Zuccarello.
You go with who?
I'll go with B, Zuccarello.
Zuccarello.
You're going to keep losing, Marco.
Oh my God!
I know.
We have a few at the end. Look like for some with B, Andy with A, Frankie with A. We have a B, Marco, and then we have Mark D, and then we have Nicolas with A and RG with C. Here we go, guys. And on that one. Oh my God! Here we go. It was a tricky one on that one. Yes, he played last game. Everybody, we have most point versus Zuccarello and Zibanejad. I think the difference between 7 or 20 most between all the three about that one. So well done, both of you, about this one. That gave RG take the lead, but not take the lead. Is at 2. Andy Kouvila, Enortap, and Mark Elliott are at 2. Only Willie Snyder got a good answer with RG on that one. And KO Gamer changed for Pasnik, so we're going to give him 0.5 for Mr. King. We're halfway of the question tonight, guys. Next one, let's go. Quickler. Here we go. Which player below have the most points in NHL? McDavid, Kopitar, Elias, Zetterberg, or McKinnon? Good luck, everybody.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Yeah. That's quite a list.
That's a nice list for sure.
You have everything from 80s, 90s, and beginning of 2000. And then you have McDavid at the last couple of years, and McKinnon one. So you have to think. You have to think. RJ go with D. Willie Snyder go with C. 2 of them. The clock coach. Oh, yeah, the clock coach. There we go. Luciano, one more like. We're heading there. We're Luciano. Nicolas go with C. Market with C. That we got that one over there. GSM with B. Leon Renault go with B. RJ go with D. Now look like for some go with C. Staff Abination. Frankie go with B. We have Andy with C. Markele with C. Gary with B. That we got so far. Marco.
This is a really tough one. I think every instinct I've had so far tonight has been wrong. So my instinct is telling me again to go with, kind of like slow and steady wins the race. Like Elias would have had probably the most consistent production over that time, but never really, I don't think he never won a scoring title, never had like a 100-point season or anything, but just really consistent and lots, like a pretty long career. Zetterberg had a lot of injuries. Kopitar. So, you know what? My instinct says C because of what I just said, but I'm going to go with D, Zetterberg.
All right. Mr. Enortap. Raptor go with D and Randy go with D with Zetterberg, by the way.
Oh, no. Randy took D?
Yeah.
Oh, my. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think it's Zetterberg. I don't think Zetterberg. I'm not sure if he even hit 1,000. I'm going to go with longevity here. I'm going to probably, there's two of them, but I think Kopitar may have had, he's had the longest career and he's always been very, very productive. So I'll go with B.
He's had
And so, guys, it's Kopitar on that one over there.
Yeah.
And Enortap scored the third goal of the night, followed by Mac Elliott, got a 3 goal of the night. A few people get 2, Frankie and then Leon Renault. Gary Cournoyer are at 2. GSM score, King of Gamer score on that goal. And that's what's happening on this question. We are not done yet. 2 to go. Quickly, guys, let's move on. Question number no music. Let's go start right away here. Here we go. Which goalie have the best GAA between Luongo, Parent, Belford, Tom Barrasso, and Piquet Rini? Good luck, everybody. The best GAA. How about that? Question number 5 of the 6. We have an extra question, guys. Don't go nowhere. Nicolas, stay awake. Put your dog out of the bed and tell him to wait a little bit longer. Franco said GPT said GTP said D. They are wrong about that. I'm the GPT. I keep missing the net. Like this, and I keep missing the net. I like Jeff Petrie. RJ go with C. Belford. Really interesting stat, that one, guys. At the end, I will give you the reason behind that, but really interesting. JSE go with E. We have Willie with D, Leon Renault with B, and Raptor with E. Willie is D. Nicolas go with B, Andy with E, Mark with A, Mark D with A, and Mark Elliott with B. Thanks so much. Let's go with Enortap.
Oh my gosh.
Randy just took the answer I thought I was going to do, so I don't know.
Randy said E. Nicholson said A. Gary Cournoyer get B.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's got to be between Pecorini and probably Barrasso, but
Barrasso,
I'm going to
really?
go with E. Yeah, I think so. I
don't know.
No, yeah, maybe. He's had some really good years, but I'll go with Pecorini. I think he was more consistent. So goals
All right.
against
Marco?
Yeah, well, I don't think you can go with any of those 80s guys because goal scoring was so much higher, and I just goals against averages were so much higher then. So I would rule out Perrin, especially 70s. Like I don't know, I don't imagine the goals against averages were very kind. So my instinct was to go with Rene, but my rule is I can't choose the same thing as Enortap. So I'm gonna go see Belfort.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
It hurts, Marco. It hurts.
Rene got it about that. I should give him 1/2 point because he was wrong. Barrasso was the worst stat on
was
that
it?
one there with 3 points something. And the difference between Luengo, Parent, Belfort, and Rene is 0.6 on the goal against average.
Wow.
So they are really, really close, all four. Barriso was the only one out of the subject of that one over there. But I know it was a first round pick, first pick. So I would say maybe it would mess a bit. But on that one, guys, Enortap is the only one take the lead at 4, followed by Andy Koivula at 3 and Mac Elliott at 3. And now Andy and Mark is the only one can tie Enortap. Enortap, you are the winner at some point, whatever you are wrong for the last question of the night, guys. Let's move on quickly. No music, and we have to go all the way back at that one. That easy one, that one again. Which defenseman have the most points between Chris Pronger, Scott Niedermayer, Éric Desjardins, Doug Harvey, and Guy Lapointe? You get all these friends from 1950 all the way to the middle of 2000. Good luck, everybody. That's the last question of the night. Extra bonus on Thursday night. Good luck, everybody. Dixon said E. You got that one over there. The channel said yes. But encore une autre question, Nicolas. Oui, on go extra, Nicolas. Said tell you, dog, to wait a little bit longer. We're over time, guys. Chicago and St. Louis. Hopefully, we can go and shoot out so we can see Connor Bedard. Mark, go with A on that one over there. RJ, go with B. Nicolas, as-tu des questions juste de quoi minuit? GSA, go with A. Willis, go with A. We have Raptor at A. Raptor have one good question so far. Leon, go with B on that one. Roy, welcome back. Roy with D. Don't forget, guys, to get on the likes. Randy, go with E. John Wayne is back in the house. John, long time we don't see you, my friend. We're doing well. Don't forget to click on the like. That'll be awesome. Go with D with Doug Harvey. Nicolas, go with E. Tiki Lapointe. So on the time in our tap, you're going to give us that answer.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid, it's the same logic as before. I'm going to avoid some of the older defensemen there. So it has to be between, I think, between Pronger and Niedermayer. I'm going to go with Niedermayer. I think he had more. It's okay, Marco. You can follow suit.
Mark, Andy go with B. Andy go with A. Luc Laperson with D. Gary Conway with A. Frankie with E. Nicolas go B with E. There we go.
Okay. Well, I'll go with my second option. Yeah, but maybe it's like a surprise one. So I think it's probably Niedermayer or Pronger. But you know what? Like maybe it's like a curveball. It's like we'll go Éric Desjardins. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Éric Desjardins on that one over there. We'll see what happening. Here we go. Tonight, he finished the game with 4 and 5. Mr. Enortap, there's only one to get that one over there. And congratulations, Mr. Enortap. Mac Elliott, it was just beside and is the winner of the night. Mr. Enortap, are you 4 or 5? I think you're 4.
I think, didn't we do 6?
5. You are 5 and 6, by the way. I apologize. It's 5 and 6. Mac Elliott, because we have 6 questions. That's why I knew you have one answer about that. Marko, honestly, you have 3 and 6 with the 2 answer of the Mr. Enortap on that one over there. And the Chicago Blackhawks win tonight 2-1. It's not bad our score anyway. And Andy Koivula with 3. And that's pretty much what we got tonight. Enortap is the only one got that one. King of Gamer is at 2.5. Congratulations, Mr. Enortap. Again, you did it. That's the reason why. And you are the legend of the Frenchy Quiz. Congratulations about that one. All of you guys, that's conclude the show on the, try to go back on the screen here on the Locker Room Report. I think Bedard have a pass on that one over there.
Yeah. There's anesthesia. I can never pronounce Anastasio or whatever his name is.
Yeah. So as I'm sorry about that, we cut that one over there, but we want to give you the right things about that. So great point, Marco, about this. What a great night, guys. We did very well. We still a bit over 2 hours because we done an extra question, but at the end, it was a really great show we're doing there. Hopefully see you Sunday night for the weekly recap. If not, next Wednesday, if Marko D'Amico, we're going to give you more information about that. Until the next time, guys, we want to thank all the moderators. Tonight, it was in the chat. Luciano, amazing, great job. RJ Calabro with all the update, all the new subscribers, all the people click on the like. We hit the 50 likes. It was the goal of the night. And of course, we want to thank all the members of the Hockey Nation, support the channel, and of course, the people pop up every single night, too many of them, and the returner, we welcome you back. Until the next time, guys, we want to remind you because who they are beside me because they are.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
They have greatness inside of them. That's the reason they are the co-hosts 2 times per week when they can. Until the next time, my friend, we want to say both of you, thank you so much. We appreciate again you volunteering to be with us. Be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Mr. Enortap?
Hey, you're 2023.
He did it again. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. Of course, Marko, thanks so much. And Mr. Enortap, we thanks again. One more word before you move on. By the way, we're not to give you your prediction of the game or how many games Montreal win the next 2 games. Marko.
Well, it depends what type of lineup Toronto is going to have, but I think we'll probably go 50-50. Let's go 500. And, let's see. I'd like to see Roy play at least one of those games.
And after that, do you like to take the same answer like Marko?
Of course, I have no difficulty with saying that. Marko, I agree with you. 1-1.
1-1. You did it again. Thanks so much. And remember, guys, the Hockey Nation and the Habs Nation said one more thing. We love you, people. Have an amazing, great, sweet night, everybody. See you next time. And thank you,
everyone.
boys.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Good night. Salut, mon Canada. Oh. Booyah!